It was a cold evening when Daniel, a single father of two, stopped by a small grocery store on his way home from work. His coat was worn, his eyes heavy with exhaustion, but his smile remained gentle. He had just enough money for some milk, bread, and his kid's favorite cereal. As he approached the checkout counter, he noticed the young cashier's hands trembling as she scanned the items. Her face was pale, her lips pressed tight, as if she was holding something back. Daniel hesitated before placing his last item on the belt, his heart quietly stirred by concern rather than impatience. The scanner beeped rhythmically, each sound echoing louder in Daniel's tired mind. The girl, probably in her early 20s, dropped the loaf of bread and muttered a shaky apology. Daniel gave her a reassuring smile. "Hey, it's all right. Long day?" he asked softly. She nodded without meeting his eyes. Her hands were still shaking, almost uncontrollably now, as she tried to put his groceries in the bag. Daniel noticed she wasn't wearing a jacket even though the draft from the door chilled the air around them. Something about her quiet struggle felt painfully familiar. He thought of the nights he'd spent counting coins at his kitchen table, praying that his kids wouldn't notice the empty fridge. He recognized that same look of quiet endurance, the one people wear when life's weight becomes too heavy but they refuse to let it break them. The girl finally whispered, "Your total is $14.62, her voice trembling as much as her hands. Daniel reached into his pocket, pulled out a few crumpled bills, and handed them over. Their fingers brushed slightly, and he felt how cold her hands were, colder than they should have been. As he waited for the receipt, he couldn't stop himself. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. She froze, her eyes flicking up for the first time. There was something raw in them, fear, exhaustion, maybe shame. For a second, she didn't answer. The silence stretched between them until finally, her voice cracked. "I'm sorry, I haven't eaten today," she whispered, tears forming in the corners of her eyes. Daniel blinked, speechless. He had expected maybe a story about stress or being tired, but not this. He looked down at the small bag of groceries and then back at her fragile, trembling frame. His throat tightened. "You haven't eaten, all day," he repeated. She shook her head slowly, embarrassed. "I gave my lunch to my little brother this morning. He's only 8, she said softly. Daniel's chest ached. For a moment, he saw himself in her, doing everything to protect someone small, even if it meant going hungry. He took a deep breath, his instincts as a father pushing through. Without another thought, he reached into his bag, pulled out the loaf of bread and the cereal, and pushed them across the counter toward her. She stared at the food as if she couldn't comprehend what was happening. "No, sir, you can't," she began, but Daniel interrupted gently. "I insist. Kids shouldn't go hungry, and neither should you." His voice was steady, but his eyes glistened. The girl's lips trembled, caught between gratitude and disbelief. She blinked rapidly, trying to hold back tears. Around them, the world kept moving, customers chatting, carts squeaking, but in that small space between two tired souls, something sacred was unfolding. The manager glanced over, frowning slightly at the delay, but Daniel ignored it. "What's your name?" he asked. "Emily," she replied, her voice barely audible. "Well, Emily," he said, "I've been where you are. Sometimes life pushes us harder than we think we can stand, but kindness makes it a little easier." She bit her lip, nodding, a single tear finally escaping. Daniel smiled softly and added, "I'm a single dad. I know what it's like to feel like the world's on your shoulders." Emily's eyes widened. "You're a single dad?" she asked, her voice trembling for a different reason now, understanding. "Yeah," Daniel said, chuckling gently. "2 kids, 7 and 9. They keep me going." For a second, she smiled through her tears. "You must be strong," she whispered. He shook his head. "Not strong. Just lucky enough to have people worth fighting for." Her hand steadied slightly as she handed him the receipt. He noticed how the trembling eased when she smiled. That small detail stayed with him. He picked up the bag, hesitated again, then reached into his wallet and pulled out a 20. "This isn't charity," he said when she started to protest. "It's a reminder that you're not invisible. People care, even strangers." Emily's lower lip quivered, and she accepted the bill with both hands, holding it as though it were something sacred. "Thank you," she whispered. "You don't know what this means." Daniel smiled. "Maybe I do," he said softly. Then he turned and began to walk away, his own heart heavier and lighter all at once. As he stepped outside, the cold air hit him again, sharper this time. He thought of Emily and her little brother, alone somewhere, maybe eating that bread and cereal tonight. The thought made his eyes sting. He started his car but couldn't bring himself to leave. Something told him he wasn't done yet. He sat there for a few minutes, wrestling with his thoughts. Then, with a sigh, he grabbed his phone and called a friend who managed a local diner. "Hey, Mike," he said, "you hiring?" Mike chuckled. "Always. Why, you looking for a second job?" Daniel laughed quietly. "Not me. I met someone today who could use a chance. Hardworking, honest, just needs a break." There was a pause, then Mike said, "Send her my way." Daniel smiled, relief washing over him. He walked back into the store, heart pounding, unsure how she'd react. Emily was still there, now helping another customer, her cheeks still pink from earlier tears. When she saw him, her expression flickered between surprise and confusion. "Forgot something?" she asked softly. Daniel nodded. "Yeah," he said. "I forgot to tell you that my buddy at the diner's looking for help. He'll train you, flexible hours, good pay. I told him about you." Her eyes widened. You did that for me." Daniel shrugged, smiling. "Everyone deserves a shot, right?" For a moment, she just stared at him, overwhelmed. Then she covered her mouth with her trembling hand, trying not to cry again. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Just say yes," Daniel replied warmly. "Go tomorrow. Tell him Daniel sent you." Emily nodded quickly, tears falling freely now. "Thank you," she whispered again, but this time her voice was strong. There was light in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Daniel smiled and waved goodbye. As he walked back to his car, the exhaustion that had clung to him all day began to fade. Sometimes, he realized, helping someone else was the best way to heal your own heart. The next day, Daniel got up early, made breakfast for his kids, and tried to shake off the previous night's emotions. But a part of him kept wondering if Emily would actually show up. Later that afternoon, as he was picking his kids up from school, his phone buzzed with a text from Mike. "She came. You were right, she's special." Daniel couldn't stop smiling. His kids noticed. "Dad, why are you so happy?" His daughter asked. "Because," he said, "sometimes good things happen when you least expect them." Weeks passed, and life continued its quiet rhythm. Daniel would occasionally stop by the diner, pretending he just wanted coffee, but really, he wanted to see how Emily was doing. Each time, she greeted him with a bright, genuine smile. Her hands no longer shook. She moved with confidence now, laughing with customers, her eyes full of life. Mike told him she was saving money for night classes. Daniel nodded, proud in a way he couldn't quite explain. One evening, as Daniel sat in the diner booth with his kids, Emily approached with their check and a shy smile. "Dinner's on me tonight," she said softly. Daniel frowned playfully. "What? No way." She grinned. "Consider it payback for that bread and cereal." He laughed, shaking his head. "You don't owe me anything." "I know," she replied, "but kindness deserves to be shared." Her eyes glowed with warmth. Daniel realized she had come full circle, from the trembling girl behind a counter to someone who now gave freely. After she walked away, Daniel looked at his kids, who were giggling over their fries. "See that?" he said. "That's what kindness looks like. It always finds its way back." His son nodded solemnly, as if he understood something deep for his age. His daughter reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "You're a good dad," she whispered. Daniel smiled, his eyes glistening. Maybe, he thought, being a good dad wasn't just about providing, it was about showing them what compassion really means. Outside, the evening sky glowed pink and gold. As they left the diner, Emily waved goodbye from behind the counter. Daniel waved back, feeling a quiet peace settle over him. Life was still hard, bills still piled up, but something inside him felt lighter. That small act of kindness had rippled outward, changing more than just one person's day. It had restored his faith, in people, in hope, in the simple power of caring. Driving home, he glanced in the rearview mirror at his kids, both dozing off in the backseat. He thought about how every moment, no matter how small, could become a turning point in someone's story. Maybe that was the real lesson. You never know who's fighting silently right in front of you. A kind word, a small gesture, could change everything. As he turned onto his street, he whispered to himself, always ask. Always care. That night, Daniel tucked his kids into bed and stood by the window, watching the city lights shimmer. He thought of Emily and smiled. Somewhere, she was probably doing the same, smiling because someone had believed in her. The world felt a little kinder, a little warmer, all because two strangers had crossed paths at a grocery store. Sometimes, he realized, the simplest question, "Are you okay?" can change not one life, but two. And that, he thought, was something worth holding onto forever.